brought my ex to our kid's birthday party to see his reaction. He walked out in front of everyone. Hi, Reddit. My name is Sia, and I am 30 years old, and I'm married to a banker. His name is Michael. Michael and I have been together for 7 years. Yes, guys, 7 years, but all hasn't been rosy between us. Our relationship at first was good, but not the usual kind of feeling I had experienced with my previous relationship, most especially the last guy I dated before him. That's where things got complicated. I brought my ex to our daughter's birthday party to see his reaction, and that didn't end well. My story is pretty much a long one, but I will try to make it short. I just want Michael and I to go back to being together even though the relationship was not that great. So guys, I met Michael at a small birthday dinner one of my coworkers threw. It wasn't anything special, just a few people gathered at a rooftop bar, most of them familiar faces I had seen in the office where I worked. Michael came with someone else, a mutual friend, and we ended up sitting across from each other. We didn't speak much that night, but I noticed how he listened when I talked, how he didn't interrupt or try to take over the conversation. That stood out to me because I wasn't used to that kind of quiet attention. Back then, I had just come out of something messy. Jordan, my ex, had been a long chapter. We had been through college together, shared apartments, made plans that never made it past wishful thinking. We had love, but also too many arguments, too much jealousy, and not enough maturity to fix it. When it ended, it didn't end with a big fight or closure. It just unraveled slowly until we stopped calling each other back. Even after it ended, I kept checking his name online from time to time. I told myself I was over him, but some parts didn't let go. Michael was different. He was calm, cool, and didn't seem like the type to play games. I loved guys that were serious and didn't play around. We started seeing each other a few weeks after that rooftop night. He asked to meet for coffee, then another time for lunch, and eventually it became a routine. I was cautious at first, still carrying old habits, but Michael made it easy to trust again. He didn't ask too many questions about my past, and I didn't tell him much. Maybe that was my way of protecting what was left of my old self. Our early months together were simple. No big declarations or surprises, just long walks, quiet dinners, and lots of talking. Michael wasn't exciting in the way Jordan had been. He wasn't the type to challenge rules or act on impulse, but he made plans and followed through, showed up when he said he would, and listened when I needed to vent. For the first time then, I felt like I could exhale. I began to think that maybe this was what I had needed all along, someone who made life feel manageable instead of chaotic. I introduced him to my family 6 months later. It may sound too early, but at that time, we wanted to settle down. Though we both weren't in a haste, my mother liked him immediately when she met him. She said he was cool and would make a perfect match for me. My father didn't say much, but I could tell he approved. Michael was respectful, brought a bottle of wine, and helped clear the dishes without being asked. My siblings joked that I finally brought home a grown man and not a project. I laughed with them, but part of me felt exposed by that comment. Maybe I'd spent too many years trying to fix something that was never mine to fix. Michael and I moved in together after a year. By then, I had let go of most things from my past. I stopped checking up on Jordan, stopped trying to make sense of why we had ended the way we did. Or at least I told myself I had stopped. Some memories still crept up from time to time, but I buried them deep. We didn't have a fancy wedding. It was small, just close friends and family, in a quiet garden venue Michael found. I remember standing beside him that day, with smiles on our faces, very happy to be together. I felt at peace, and there was no rush in my chest, no butterflies, but something even better, a calm I didn't know I needed. I told myself this was what love was supposed to feel like. Not fireworks, not obsession, but peace. A year later, we had our daughter. Her birth changed everything. Not in a bad way, but it made the gaps between us more visible. We both loved her deeply, but we loved her in different ways. Michael was more practical, more routine-driven. I was more instinctive, more emotional. We clashed often about little things, but we always came back to each other, tired but still trying. I believed we would make it through anything, as long as we stayed on the same side. For a long time we did. We went through sleepless nights, first steps, daycare chaos, school runs, and scraped knees. I watched Michael become a good father. He was patient, present, and dependable. He never forgot a school event or left the house without checking if we needed anything. He made lists for everything and color-coded the calendar. I used to tease him for it, but it helped more than I admitted. Still, there were moments I didn't speak about. Times when he would fall asleep beside me and I would lie awake, wondering why I felt distant even with his arms around me. Or when I would scroll through old photos and stop on one of Jordan, taken years ago at a beach. I didn't know why I kept it. Maybe part of me still wanted to remember who I had been with him. Maybe I had never really let go of the version of myself that had existed before Michael. I didn't act on those feelings. I didn't think I ever would. But I also didn't try hard to push them away. I let them sit quietly in the background, like a song I didn't want to hear but couldn't bring myself to skip. Looking back now, I think I had already started testing the boundaries of my marriage without realizing it. Not through actions, but through thoughts I allowed to linger. I convinced myself that as long as I didn't reach out, I was still loyal. But loyalty isn't just about actions. Sometimes it's about where your heart drifts when no one is watching. By the time our daughter's 5th birthday was coming up, I had already bumped into Jordan once, by accident. Or at least that's what I told myself. We didn't say much, just polite words, a few updates. But something in me shifted that day. A door cracked open, and I didn't close it. I met Jordan when I was still figuring out who I was. We were in college, both drawn to each other's intensity and unpredictability. He was the kind of person who lit up every room he walked into, loud when he laughed, sharp when he argued, and full of opinions about everything. I didn't realize then how much I was drawn to chaos, how I mistook drama for passion. Being with Jordan was like being on a roller coaster. I was always either euphoric or heartbroken, never anything in between. Back then, I told myself that was what love looked like. Constant highs and lows, tears followed by makeup kisses, threats to leave followed by dramatic apologies. Our fights were loud and often public. Our friends learned to ignore us when we stormed off in the middle of gatherings, but even when we hurt each other, I stayed. Because I believed in that kind of love, the kind that demanded everything, even your peace of mind. We dated for almost 5 years. I thought we would get married one day, even though we didn't talk about it seriously. We shared everything. Groceries, rent, playlists, even dreams. But we never truly shared a future. Deep down, I think I knew that. Jordan wasn't someone who thought ahead. He lived moment to moment, and I followed him, trying to keep up, trying to matter in his world. When we broke up, it wasn't because of one thing. It was years of little things piling up. Missed calls, forgotten promises, jealousy that never went away. There were other people in the background too. Flirtations that crossed lines, boundaries pushed just far enough to cause pain, but never quite enough to end things. Until one day it just ended, quietly. He moved out, and I didn't stop him. Even after I met Michael, I thought about Jordan. Not every day, but enough. He was like a ghost I carried with me. I told myself it was just nostalgia, that I didn't miss him, only the version of myself that had been with him. Young, daring, reckless. I never let myself say it out loud, but some part of me still wondered what would have happened if we had tried again after growing up. So when I saw him again, just once, unexpectedly, I didn't know how to feel. He looked older, but still had that same presence. We talked for a few minutes, nothing deep. We just chatted about things about our lives and other little chats. It was awkward, but not bad anyway. But after that day, I thought about him more than I had in years. It was like a door in my mind had been opened, one I had kept locked because I was scared of what was behind it. Then came the idea to invite him to our daughter's birthday party. At first, it was a passing thought, one of those things you think and immediately dismiss, but it stayed with me. I told myself it was harmless, that we were adults now, that it would mean nothing. I reasoned that he had been part of my life for so long, and it wouldn't be strange to have him see how far I had come. I framed it as maturity, as closure. But if I'm honest, it wasn't just that. A part of me wanted to see his reaction. I wanted to know if I still meant anything to him, if he'd see the life I had built and feel something, regret maybe, or surprise, or even admiration. I wanted him to see my daughter, to know that I had moved on, and somehow still needed him to witness it. I didn't talk to Michael about it. I knew how it would sound. and I didn't feel like explaining feelings I hadn't even admitted to myself. Michael knew about Jordan. Yes, guys, he knew Jordan was my ex. When we were still dating, I told him everything about Jordan. Now just imagine if I had told him that I had invited Jordan for Kamara's birthday party. Of course he wouldn't have liked it, but I told myself I was doing nothing wrong, that it was just one guest at a crowded party, that nothing would happen. But that wasn't the whole truth. I didn't just want Jordan to come. I wanted to be seen by him again. I wanted to measure the woman I had become through his eyes. I wanted to feel powerful, maybe even vindicated. I wasn't looking to cheat or restart anything, but I was looking for something. I just didn't know what exactly. I sent the message one evening after putting our daughter to sleep. Our daughter's name is Kamara. She was turning 5, and I thought of inviting Jordan over for the birthday party. It was a simple invitation with the date, time, and address. He replied the next day, saying he might stop by. My heart races when I read it, and I hated that it did. I felt like I was hiding something, even though technically I wasn't. But the guilt came anyway, quiet, dull, and persistent. Over the next few days, I kept picturing what would happen if he showed up. Would Michael notice anything? Would anyone feel the shift in the room? I tried to act normal, to focus on the planning. Balloons, cake, food, games. But my mind kept drifting back to Jordan. Would he recognize me in this new life? Would I recognize myself? As the day of the party drew closer, I was anxious and nervous at the same time. I still wasn't sure if he'd show up. Part of me hoped he wouldn't, but a bigger part of me hoped he would. Planning a birthday party for a 5-year-old should have been simple. I told myself that the most important thing was making sure our daughter felt special. She had been talking about it for weeks, describing the decorations she wanted, the cake flavor, the colors, and the people she hoped would come. I listened, took notes, smiled, and pretended like that was all that mattered. On the surface it was. But underneath it all, I had another set of thoughts running through me. I was thinking about who would be in the room, not just for her sake, but for mine. I wasn't just planning a birthday party. I was preparing for a moment. I was placing people like pieces on a board, and I was waiting to see how it would play out. Michael, ever practical, offered to help. He asked about the guest list, the food, the decorations. I told him I had it covered. I said it wasn't anything complicated, that I already had a plan. That wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the whole truth either. I left out one name, just one, and it changed everything. I didn't tell him about Jordan. I didn't even say his name. I didn't want to deal with the questions or the suspicions. I told myself it would be easier this way, cleaner, less messy. I told myself I was protecting Michael, sparing him unnecessary discomfort. But what I was really doing was protecting my own intention. I added Jordan's name to the printed list of invites, but not to the version Michael saw. I made sure the digital RSVP link he checked didn't include Jordan. It wasn't hard. Most people were casual with their responses anyway. I knew that if Jordan came, he wouldn't announce it ahead of time. He would just show up, or he wouldn't. I made sure it would look like a surprise either way. I ordered a cake shaped like her favorite cartoon character, booked a small local venue with an indoor play area, and set up a time for face painting. I picked decorations in pastel pink and lilac, made custom thank you tags, and arranged the tables in a semicircle so everyone could see the center. I was deliberate about everything. I wanted things to feel full, but not overwhelming. I wanted space. I didn't know why that mattered so much until later. In the middle of the planning, I kept replaying memories I hadn't thought about in years. Jordan's voice, his laugh, the way he used to make me feel like I was the only person in the room. I didn't feel that way anymore, not with Michael. Our marriage had become stable and predictable, good on paper, quiet in practice. We didn't fight. We didn't thrill each other either. We moved through life like co-managers of a shared space. Efficient, respectful, sometimes warm, but never deep. I told myself I wasn't comparing them, but I was. Every time Michael reminded me to confirm the food order, I thought of Jordan surprising me with takeout at midnight just because I had mentioned a craving. Every time Michael checked the budget for the party, I remembered Jordan spending money he didn't have just to impress me. Those weren't good things, but they were intense, and I missed feeling anything that strong. I didn't dress up for parties anymore, But this time, I picked out a dress a week ahead, something simple but flattering. I booked a nail appointment and told myself it was just to look nice in photos. I didn't admit that I wondered how Jordan would see me now. I didn't let myself say it out loud, but I was preparing to be seen. 2 days into the event, I became more anxious. Not about the party logistics, but about what I couldn't control. Whether Jordan would come, whether he'd talk to Michael, whether people would notice anything. I started to imagine all the ways it could go wrong, but I didn't back out. I had already opened that door, and I was standing behind it, waiting. Michael noticed my tension, but he didn't ask much. That was how things were between us. We didn't probe. We kept things smooth. If I had cried during those nights before the party, he wouldn't have known. I had mastered the art of functioning while feeling conflicted. I had built a life that looked right, even when parts of it didn't feel real. I told myself the invitation to Jordan didn't mean anything, that it wouldn't change anything, that it was just a moment, a one-time thing, a loose end I wanted to tie. But deep down, I think I knew it was more. It was a test I had created for myself, without fully knowing what I hoped to find. On the night before the party, I stayed up late pretending to double-check things. The decorations were already boxed, the cake order confirmed, the favors packed. Everything was in place. I just couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what it would feel like to see Jordan walk into that room, what it would do to me, what it would do to Michael. I didn't know what I expected from Jordan. A look, a conversation, some unspoken understanding between us. I had no idea how he would react to the new version of my life. I just knew I wanted to watch it happen. And that truth sat heavy in my chest. By the morning of the party, everything looked normal. Our daughter woke up smiling and happy. Michael kissed my cheek and said it was going to be a good day. I smiled back. I was good at smiling when I needed to. I carried the bags to the car and made sure our daughter's dress stayed clean on the way. I was focused on her laughter in the back seat and also on the music playing in the car at that time. But behind all of it, my thoughts stayed fixed on one question I couldn't shake. What happens when the past walks into the present, and you're the one who opened the door? The birthday party was meant to be a bright and joyful day, a celebration of our daughter's 5th year. I had poured so much time and effort into planning it, wanting everything to be just right. The living room was transformed with pastel pink and lilac balloons tied in clusters, streamers cascading from the ceiling like gentle ribbons, and a large table set with plates, cups, and party hats decorated with her favorite cartoon princess. The cake was a masterpiece, a delicate creation covered in soft icing flowers and topped with a figurine of her beloved character. The house smelled of vanilla and fresh flowers, a scent that usually brought calm and happiness. The decorations came out exactly as I had imagined. Our friends and family came along with their kids to celebrate with our daughter, Kamara. Kamara was also happy to see her friends, and they really had a good time. Michael and I chatted with the kids' parents and allowed the kids to have their fun. I kept on smiling and welcoming all the guests that were coming in. But beneath my smile, I was both scared and anxious. I was unsettled. I kept glancing toward the door, waiting for Jordan's arrival. Part of me felt reckless for inviting him, but a stronger part wanted to see what would happen, to watch Michael's reaction. I told myself it was harmless, a chance to face the past and prove that it no longer had any hold over us. But deep down, I feared the consequences. Michael was helping our daughter blow out the candles when the door opened quietly. I caught the shift in the room before I even turned around. Heads subtly turned, conversations dropped. I saw him before he saw me. Jordan stepped inside, looking around as if nothing was out of place. He walked in confidently, the same confident, effortless way he always carried himself. His eyes met mine for a fleeting moment, and I saw surprise mixed with something unreadable, maybe curiosity, or a silent question about why I had done this. The room seemed to be hot despite the amount of air conditioners in the hall. Immediately, Michael's smile faltered, and his eyes locked onto Jordan with an intensity I had never witnessed before. It was as if all the years between them collapsed into a single moment of quiet tension. The warmth that Michael showed our daughter evaporated instantly, which made the atmosphere somehow. I couldn't explain how it was exactly, though, but something felt off. Without a word, Michael excused himself and headed toward the back of the house. I followed him. My heart kept beating hard, and I was afraid of what would happen next. I tried reaching out to Michael, but he didn't wait to hear what I had to say. After a few seconds, Jordan came over to meet me outside. He asked if everything was okay, and also asked who Michael was to me. Immediately, I told him that Michael was my husband, and I didn't know why he left the party the way he did. I also told Jordan that nothing was okay at that moment. Jordan was confused and was shocked at the same time. Immediately, he asked if my husband was aware of his arrival, and then I told him that he wasn't aware, and that I invited just so he could see me just once like the way he used to back then when we were still together. Jordan looked at me for a few seconds and then told me that he had moved on from whatever happened between us in the past, and said he doesn't have feelings for me any longer, or even looked at me like I had imagined he would, because the feelings weren't there and he was engaged at that time. Jordan added that he wasn't even supposed to come to the party in the first place, but graced the invitation just for old time's sake, and that he was even supposed to come along with his fiancée, but she was caught up with work. Guys, at that moment, I was beyond shocked. Words failed me, and I didn't know what to say. Before I could even open my mind to say anything, Jordan told me to move on just like he did, and asked me not to reach out to him again, because he doesn't want his fiancée to misinterpret anything if she finds out that we two are in touch with each other more than we should, and he walked out on me. I was very ashamed of myself to have invited Jordan to the party in the first place. Obviously, I wasn't thinking straight. I can't say I had feelings for Jordan, but I thought he was into me just like he used to. But clearly, I was wrong. He moved on and started afresh. All the years I had been thinking that Jordan still had feelings for me were all in my head. There was nothing like that. Guys, Michael did not come back to the party. Our daughter, sensing the shift, approached me hesitantly. She came closer to me and asked me why Daddy looked upset and left the way he did. I knelt down and forced a smile, telling her everything was fine, but the sadness in her eyes cut deeper than I expected. She was too young to understand the grown-up tension between her father and Jordan, and yet she felt it, unfortunately, on the day that should have been a happy day for her. I stayed and tried to keep the party going, organizing games, trying to cheer everyone up, and started serving slices of cake. But the energy was drained. Some of the guests started to gossip and kept looking at me in some type of way. Some guests even tried to act normal, but I could feel that they all had one or two things to say but couldn't. Obviously, they dared not. After the last guest left, the house felt empty and cold. Michael didn't return back, and we had the party with a heavy atmosphere. It was disastrous, and it was all my fault. I couldn't believe that I ruined my daughter's birthday party. I felt bad. When Kamara and I got home, we met Michael in the living room with a bottle of alcohol and wine glass. He looked furious, and I was scared to approach him. Kamara tried to play with him, but he called the nanny to take her to the room. Michael and I stayed for a few seconds without a word. My whole body was shaking, and I tried to maintain my cool. When I finally approached him, he avoided my eyes. I called out to him, but he didn't answer. He kept sipping his drink for some while and then told me that he would ask me to do something for him, and that thing would be the only thing that would make him forgive me. I was ready to do anything to make my husband forgive me, and I asked what it was. Immediately, Michael told me that my belongings were already under the staircase and that I should go pick them up and get out of his house immediately. He told me that he wasn't in the mood to shout or exchange any words with me at that moment, and that I should do what I was told. At that moment, I thought I was dreaming because I couldn't believe that it was Michael that was talking. I asked him if what he said was a joke or meant everything he said. Michael told me that he doesn't look like a joker and also didn't stutter when he said that. From the look on his face that moment, I knew that he was very serious. I fell on my knees and begged Michael to forgive me. I even tried to tell him that Jordan meant nothing to me. Michael took a few steps backwards and told me that he was going upstairs and wouldn't want to come back and meet me there by the time he came back, and he left. At that moment, I knew that I was finished. I called out to him and told him that I was very sorry and that he should give us a second chance. I teared up uncontrollably. At that moment, I realized how reckless it had been to bring Jordan to the party, to drag the past into a moment that should have belonged only to the present. I had hoped to see if Michael could handle the truth, to test the strength of our bond. Instead, I had opened a wound that was still raw and bleeding. Michael's reaction showed me how fragile our peace really was. His cold silence, his quick retreat, were not just about anger, but about pain and betrayal. I understood that some things could not be faced lightly, especially when they touched the deepest parts of trust. Our daughter deserved better than this fractured day. She deserved a family filled with warmth and love, not fractured by secrets and unspoken truths. I wondered how long it would take to rebuild what had been broken, or if it was even possible. Sitting there on the floor at that moment, I thought about the choices I had made and the risks I was willing to take. Was it worth jeopardizing everything for a moment of honesty, or was I simply running from my own fears? I knew one thing for certain: the party had changed us. The safe distance we maintained from the past was gone. So guys, just as Michael had instructed, I picked up my bags and left the house. I was in tears when I was leaving. I wanted to go with Kamara or see her just for once before leaving, but I couldn't. Immediately, Michael left. The gatekeeper walked in and asked me to leave quietly so he wouldn't have to throw me out like the way my husband had instructed him to do. I felt really ashamed of myself. I couldn't believe that Michael had the audacity to order the gatekeeper to throw me out of the house. Like, isn't that disrespectful? I was mad, but there wasn't anything I could do. 2 days later, the lawyer informed me that Michael had filed for a divorce. I was devastated. I kept going to the house to beg Michael, but his mind was made up. I wanted to mend things, if not for anything but for our daughter's sake. But Michael had been difficult. Update. Hello, Redditors. I'm back here again. But this time, I'm here to give you guys an update about my previous post. I really don't know where to start from because a lot of things happened within the last 3 months. I'm sorry for taking this long to update you guys. I know you all must have been waiting to hear the outcome of everything that happened, right? Well, I will get to that without wasting much of you guys' time. After the birthday party, everything between Michael and me changed. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was full of unspoken questions, unanswered doubts, and the kind of stillness that says more than words ever could. I knew I had crossed a line that couldn't be erased. What I didn't know was how deeply it would impact the way Michael looked at me from that moment on. Michael and I didn't go back to the way we used to be. Yes, our relationship and marriage wasn't that perfect. We didn't have the relationship an average married couple would have, but it was better than how we are now. Michael and I have gone from being husband and wife to co-parents. Yes, guys, we have. Michael was very serious about the divorce, and all efforts to make him change his mind failed. But his family and mine intervened, but it wasn't enough. Michael told everyone he doesn't want to talk about what happened at the birthday party because he wouldn't want to lose his cool. Now, Michael dislikes me so much to the extent that my presence disgusts him. He can't even stay in the same space with me for 2 seconds. He didn't even give me a chance to explain myself. The fact that I invited Jordan over without his consent was a big disrespect to him, and he couldn't take it. Everyone would think that Jordan and I had things going on, which wasn't the case. Michael wouldn't give me a listening ear. I felt so frustrated, and even now, guys, everything that happened then overwhelmed me, and I became depressed. I kept blaming myself for destroying marriage. A few days after the lawyer informed me about the divorce, the papers were ready, and I was asked to come over to the lawyer's office along with Michael. Michael demanded to come into the office after I was done signing. Like I said earlier, he couldn't stay in the same space with me for 2 seconds. It was those bad guys. The terms of the divorce were outrageous, but there was nothing I could do anyway. Guys, Michael was taking Kamara away from me. He demanded full custody of Kamara, and I was also not getting any penny or assets from the properties. The ones in my name were also retrieved from me. My account was swiped, and I was left with nothing. After I was done signing, I left the office crying like a little baby. Michael didn't even look at me for once. He looked away the moment he saw me coming out of the lawyer's office. We didn't talk, and I left. The divorce was finalized. Michael and I ceased to be husband and wife. The only thing that brought us together was Kamara. I only see her 3 times a week, which is fine by me. At least it was better than not seeing her at all. Our daughter is doing well. At least her dad is there for her, even though we wouldn't live like we used to. Michael and I both try to act normal. She's too young to understand the details, but she knows we love her. She knows her parents are always there for her, and that's what she needs. I try to keep things normal for her through her nanny, things like school runs, bedtime stories. Those simple things feel more important now than ever. Jordan never reached out again. I never tried to contact him either. It felt like the door had closed in a quiet, final way, and I was okay with that. What I needed wasn't him, it was clarity, and through the wreckage, I found it. I didn't need to revisit that part of my life anymore. I didn't need to wonder what could have been, because I knew now what I had and what I almost lost. My marriage ended because I wanted Jordan to not just come to the party and see me the way he used to, but also to see what my husband's reaction would be. What a stupid idea that was. This still feels like a dream to me right now and feels like a nightmare. I just want to be woken up from this nightmare and know it was truly a dream. It has been difficult living without my husband. I'm now responsible for myself and don't have anyone to provide for me or take care of my bills. I don't even have any job that can earn me money. Guys, I really do not have any penny on me. My husband made sure I don't get anything from the divorce. This is just too much for me to handle. As hurtful this may sound, I always think of that birthday party as the worst day of my life. Don't get me wrong, guys. I don't regret giving birth to my daughter on that date, but the birthday party itself is what I regret the most. Everything fell apart between Michael and I, and my family was never the same. If I had known, maybe I shouldn't have ever invited Jordan over or thought about what Michael's reaction would be. Michael never openly said he despised Jordan, but inviting an ex without his consent should be what triggered his emotions. The deed has been done, and I'm reaping the consequences. I think I deserve it, and I don't know how long I will be able to deal with this. I'm heartbroken beyond words.